Hello, everyone. How are you? My name is Brandi Murphy. I'm the Director of nutraMetrix Training and Field Development, and I'm so excited to have you here today with us as part of our nutraMetrix Lunch and Learn series for our friends here on the East Coast, our breakfast series for those of you on the West Coast. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. I'm joined with Charlie Baer, and we're going to be talking about the synergies between nutraMetrix and Shop Financial. Now, let me tell you a little bit before we get started about why we started this series. And as you know, if you're watching this, Market America has a very diverse product offering, and we've created what we call the university concept, where if you go to a university, you usually major in a specific division or a specific topic, but you have access to all of the courses. The same is true within Market America. So we have many different divisions within our Market America University, and sometimes people focus on the primary model of expanding distribution. Some people focus on very specific product lines, and it's often helpful to understand what the other divisions that you maybe don't focus on offer. So as you come across potential contacts who could benefit from additional products and services, you can at least speak intelligently about the other divisions and perhaps maybe work to add those divisions within your product offering to your own clients, or partner with somebody for your team that can focus on that. So today we're focusing on nutraMetrix, which is the division that works with health professionals to implement our health and nutrition products into their practice, and our Shop Financial Services department. So Charlie, why don't you jump in and say hello and tell them a little bit about Shop Financial?
Well, thank you. Hello, everybody. Thanks for jumping on here today. And Brandi, you are absolutely right. These two divisions fit perfectly together, in the sense that we know that health professionals occasionally acquire debt. And that's where we can intermingle. It's just like when I'm out there talking to a doctor that knows nothing about us, I love to introduce them to nutraMetrix, because then they get two ways, right, of taking or having benefit of Market America. So it's unbelievably awesome in that sense. And Brandi, if I can get a doctor to still have all the tax breaks that he would normally get for having the interest payments, yet be done in half the time or less with his debt, we can take that money and roll it into something else that helps his practice.
That's awesome. You know, in nutraMetrix, part of our goal when we're working with a practitioner is to help them bring additional revenue to the practice. And it's usually because, you know, a lot of people outside of the healthcare environment don't understand necessarily that the reason why the amount of time that they get with their practitioner has lessened over the years is because the amount of money that's reimbursed by insurance companies to providers keeps decreasing, and their expenses keep increasing. So even though they might get reimbursed less by the insurance companies for the same things that they got reimbursed more for 10 to 15 years ago, it now means that in order to pay for all of the things that are costing them more, they have to see more patients. So part of the nutraMetrix offering is to help the practitioners improve patient outcomes by helping them focus on nutritional support for their patients and healthy lifestyles for their patients. And their patients are already buying supplements somewhere, right? So being able to bring that revenue into the practice is helpful. But when they partner with Shop Financial, now they can bring in additional revenue and maybe apply that revenue to a faster debt payment schedule so they can get out of debt faster. And it's a really great partnership. So part of our intention today, for those of you that are watching, is if you are a Shop Financial agent, we want you to be aware to be able to talk to a health professional about the revenue that nutraMetrix can bring. But if you're a nutraMetrix consultant, we want you to be aware of the tools that Shop Financial can bring so that we can have this two-pronged approach to helping our providers and be able to create the biggest win-win for all of us. Wouldn't you agree, Charlie?
Yeah, listen, having knowledge about both industries is only intelligent. If I look at anybody that does extremely well in their business, they know what their business is all about, right? At least portions of it. So education is really the smartest thing. But Brandi, maybe what I can do is show you a little bit on why doctors are, or the health professional field is a very good place to partner with Shop Financial.
Absolutely. Go right ahead. I'm anxious for you to show it to them.
Could you give me?
Yep.
Oh, look at that.
There you go.
here, we'll go here. So Shop Financial is quite unique in the sense of we know that everyone has debt, right? It's an issue in this country. And Brandi, do you think after this craziness of 2020 is over, debt's going to be more or less of an issue?
Oh, it's definitely more. And you know, what's interesting about that is with the health professional arena, that's one of the industries where many of them thought they were recession proof, right? They thought that there's always going to be unhealthy people that need help. There's always going to be people coming through their doors because they'll be able to see patients all the time. And this year, for the first time ever, many practices were shut down or at least had to reduce their patient visits to only emergent or emergency services or essential visits. And so for the very first time ever, there are practitioners out there whose patient load significantly decreased during these past couple of months.
It has been an eye-opener for many, many different people, right? So look, we know education costs money and an average student loan is just shy of $51,000. But Brandi, when I go into the health professional field, their average loan is $220 or $232,300. And that doesn't count undergraduate studies, right? So we're talking $500,000 or more just in debt from education. And granted, do they have the potential of making more money? Yes, but they have to pay a lot more debt. We live in an economy that says, buy everything you possibly can, spend all your money, right? Credit cards, mortgages, our loans for students, our cars, everything fuels our economy. So I understand we all have goals and wants, but the doctor, if he's a doctor that's looking to have a private practice, now we throw extra costs on there. But everything that we do, Brandi, puts us in debt, right? We create a lot of debt to live the way we want to live, right? And sometimes we live the way we shouldn't live and create way more debt than we should. And
that's the American way, right? You got to keep up with the Joneses.
You do have to keep up with them. And see, the nice thing about what Debt Shredder will teach is how to use your money to your advantage. I don't want you to spend, it's no different than what we teach in every avenue of what we do. I don't want you to spend more money. I don't need you to make more money. I need you to use things smarter. Put money back in your pocket, right? So here's an example, because I think, Brandi, interest is misunderstood, right? If you have a $200,000 loan at 4.5%, that's not a bad interest rate, right? Brandi, you know what the really horrible thing here is? I look back at my first mortgage and I looked at the interest rate I had on my first mortgage. Do you know it wasn't anywhere near 4.5%? Do you know I could triple it? And we were at 18%. I'm thinking, oh my God, and that was good because it was in the 20s before that.
Yeah.
But $200,000 at 4.5%, your payment is $1,013. Look, I understand I got to spend money to borrow it from somebody. But when I pay my first year back and almost $9,000 or 73% goes to interest, that's not 4.5. But that's how I interpret it. We as humans just interpret things, right? 4.5% is a great rate. Year two is better. Only 72% of what you paid in goes to it. And again, crazy, right? We get to year 20 and I've paid $243,000 back for the $200 I borrowed. Now, to me, Brandi, I think $43,000 would be fair. But when you go look at a 30-year mortgage, you still owe $97,000 of the principal. And here's where we don't understand things, right? We don't understand that we could have kept a good portion of this. By the time we get to year 30, I paid $365,000 to borrow $200. So if I look at it really simplistically, and I don't care if it's your house, your private practice, your car, I don't care. In real estate, not only did I pay to borrow the money, But 30 years later, if I go to sell the home, can I sell it for $365,000? And even if I can, did they not take all my equity on top of it all, right? So we just want to be smarter about what we do, right? You think if people understood the effects of debt, would we live differently, right? Brandi, if you woke up every morning and you had no debt other than your food, that kind of stuff, what would be different in our lives? Would we do things differently? Okay.
Oh, definitely. I mean, if you just think about how much people live on a monthly payment lifestyle, and so how much of that monthly output that they have is just going to pay interest.
Well, and so here's another misconception, right? We talk about the health professional field going, wow, they make great money. Not understanding is, wow, they pay a lot of money out for all the things they do, right? So it makes no difference if you make $50,000 a year or $250,000 a year, depending on what you do, you spend it all or more, right? So ultimately the question to them would be, how badly do they want to get out of debt, right? Are they on one and they want to be completely debt-free, or Brandi, like most people in the world, they love the financial stress, right? We just want to be in debt forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Listen, we know that this is a majority of relationship problems in this country, right? So if we could fix the debt issue, we could help a lot of relationship issues. So what do people do? Now, this surprised the heck out of me, Brandi, that a majority of the people in this country pay the minimum. Whatever the bill is, that's what they pay, which is crazy because that means they're paying the full term and they allow a lender to manipulate the money to go to the lender's pocket, right? So now there's things called debt snowball where you attack the smallest balance. There are things called debt avalanche where you attack the highest interest rate first and then go after the next one. And you're making minimum payments on everything else you have. Do you know, and I grew up in an area where envelopes were big and still are, right? People budgeted using envelopes. And it might sound crazy, but it's effective, right? It's right there. Or we could go cold turkey, just cut up everything that we have, right? And again, a lot of these work for a very short period of time. So we could refinance or do debt consolidation, but you got to be careful what you do there because you could extend, you can lower your monthly payment, but you could extend the time you're paying, which you actually cost you more money, right?
And a lot of those refinance programs add so much more in closing costs that people don't realize that they're actually increasing their balance significantly by doing that.
Absolutely. Well, and not just that, but say like my first time I did this, I was 4 years into a 30-year payment. They lowered my payment by $100 a month, but they extended the time I'm paying by 4 years, which cost me like $50,000, which you don't look at all of that. And even if you do you remember, right? Debt relief, I can have somebody call for me, charge me to go, hey, can we lower this person's interest rate? So I want people to stop procrastinating and take control of what they do and use a financial GPS. If you explain to health professionals, and here's where we can merge very well, they understand what a GPS is. If I could use a GPS for finances, is that not smarter, right? Because it'll tell me everything I can do. Our creators of this program are recognized from high profile people like Ernst & Young, Entrepreneur of the Year, Success Magazine, Mortgage Planner, right? Home Business, True Wealth, broker, banker, personal real estate investor. Depending on where you are in the world, you know these magazines, right? All been written about our people or who organize this. And Debt Shredder is not saying, Brandi, you need to refinance, do a mortgage modification. We're not doing a debt roll down. We're not increasing your payments. We don't want you to change lenders or your lifestyle. By the way, with health professionals, big deal, right? We don't want to change lifestyle. I want to keep the lifestyle the same, just manage your money smarter.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you're going to be living on rice and beans or you know, what are they called? Oodles of noodles. You're still going to be able to.
I have people that actually do that. There are other people out there that teach debt reduction or debt management, but they tell you to change your lifestyle.
Right.
And I don't want to live in a tent. Right? Ramen noodles. I don't know how healthy that is long term anyway. I'd rather be, maybe it's ramen noodles and OPC3. But debt shredder is the smartest way to save money, reduce your debt, build cash reserves, accumulate wealth, and still have the tax breaks, right? It still takes advantage. It doesn't get rid of those. So I look at the dashboard as one of the smartest things for adults because it allows me to see how much interest I have, how many years till I'm done, and how much money to put in my pocket. I had a customer on the other day, and I helped him through the initial part of this. We made a transaction that Debt Shredder was telling him to do, and he goes, why did that actual number change by $23,000 on one movement? I said, because you took 5 years of interest off the back end of your debt. And if you think I'm with a health professional and I can have my practice done in 15 years as opposed to 30, or in 10 years as opposed to 30, is that not a good match, right? Always. So it uses algorithms. This is why we're different. You know, it's a series of decision programming that prioritizes what you should do according to the data you put in, right? It goes through, Brandi, here's what most people don't understand, factorial math. If I have 5 debts, there's 120 combinations to pay it off, not 5. Do you know how many people will sit down and do 120 combinations every month?
0.
And Brandi, if you call me and say, Charlie, could you do it for me? You know I can't charge you enough to do this. And if I add one more debt, it's 720. If I go to 6, it's 720. No one does this except Debt Shredder. I can push an enter button. It calculates everything for me and shows me the fastest solution to 0.
And it doesn't matter how many accounts you have. Like you were talking about whether you, with each new debt that you add, the algorithm changes. So this does that all for you.
I can have 6, I can have 20. It doesn't slow down Debt Shredder, right? Now, I will tell you something crazy here. The more debt you have, I'm not telling you to get debt, but the more debt you have, the more it helps you, right? So, and here is a sample of a doctor. So this guy had 2 mortgages, well, a mortgage and an office. Car loans, student loans, credit cards, 5 debts, 1.2 million.
And that's totally a normal scenario, right? How many people have, whether it's a practice or a business that they own brick and mortar, they have a mortgage on both. 1 car loan, they probably have 2 cars, but they have 1 car loan listed here, their student loan and their credit card.
So the lenders wanted them, for the 1.2 million, they're going to pay $2 million back. And it's going to take them 33.8 years to have everything paid off because of the credit card. Debt Shredder says you can take the exact same money you're using, but you can pay back just shy of 1.6 million. We put $446,000 back in the pocket, but we're done in 13.9 years. And Brandi, you always talk about different revenue streams, right?
Yep.
If all the professional does is takes the money they save and deposits the money at a 1% rate of return, wherever they can get 1%. By the time they would have been done with their original payments, they're done with their payments and have almost $2.5 million in their pocket.
So not only is it saving them on the interest they would have paid, they're reducing the number of years to pay it off, and they can invest that money and earn money while they're doing that.
Now, if you go back to the 446 that we save them, That's guaranteed. So Debt Shredder says, if you use us, we will guarantee you're done in 13.9 years and save you $446,000. And if we do not, we will refund you the money that you spent on the program. How much better can you get than that? And you know what's really crazy, Brandi? And I've been dealing with Shop Financial and Debt Shredder since 2008. You know how many times we refunded somebody? That would be 0. Yep. That would be 0. Or you could be like me, Brandi, because I have many years in the financial service industry. I looked at Debt Shredder and said, all I have is 10 years left on my mortgage and a car loan. I can do this myself. And 10 months into it, Peg says, geez, Charlie, how you doing against Debt Shredder? I said, well, I'm $6,000 behind. She goes, how much more money do you have to lose before you get this program? I said, well, that would be none, honey. I'm going to get it today. And Brandi, 4 years later, it really upset me because 4 years later, it had me done. And I'm like, how in the world can it be this efficient? Just, you know, it's certain personalities have trouble with that.
I understand.
Yep. And then the second part of the analysis, it goes through this doctor wanted to be done by the time they were, I think, 55. They were in their early 40s. So the way they were set up, by the time they were 55, they would have still owed their lenders $720,000. Debt Shredder would have had them done with Debt Shredder would have said, I still owe them 107, right? 13 years into this. By the 14th year, though, where they still owe 689, Debt Shredder has over 9,000 bucks in their pocket.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is absolutely crazy. We do this without changing lifestyle. We don't want to change lifestyle unless they're really crazy with it. Right? Don't want to refinance. You know, we want to keep the existing mortgage. We don't do debt consolidation. We let the program calculate the fastest solution to 0. The 4 strategies it uses is interest cancellation. We want to show you how to keep the most money in your pocket. Strategic payoffs. Brandi, if you have 6 debts, how do you attack them? Most people, you know what most people do, Brandi? They get a quarter and then they pick which one they're going to use. Time value.
That might even be more advanced than what most people do. I think they just think, oh, this one's due today, I'm going to pay it. I don't even think they flip the coin.
You're probably right. It's confusing, and it's not confusing. The industry just makes it that way, right? Because there are billions of dollars spent. Billions. So anyway, it tells you everything, exact dollars. It tells you when to move it. It tells you from what account to move the money. The fastest solution to 0. And it doesn't stop there, right? It's going to show you how. It's not going to tell you where to invest, Brandi. It's going to show you if you put this money away at 1%, and we try to stay conservative, right? 1%. Brandi, if you deal with a financial planner and they're getting you 1%, you need to find a different financial planner, right?
Totally agree.
Yeah. And it does all of this with a free analysis. So you don't even have to force the doctor to do anything other than do the analysis. We'll do the analysis because most people, when they say, hey, I can put an extra $446,000. By the way, $446,000, Brandi, has no exposure to the stock market or the real estate market. That's just you managing your money smarter. And then if you expose it to a 1% rate of return, it turns into $2.5 million. So what can they do? Well, they can get more information, right? They can become a rep and learn. They can learn without becoming a rep. They can attend our webinars, right, on Monday nights. But I think this is a perfect merger. They spend a lot of money, and people that are in Shop Financial should learn nutraMetrix because you bump into doctors on a regular basis. Most of us go see one now and then.
Even if it's an eye doctor or a chiropractor, you know, sometimes people think it's only medical doctors that we work with. We work with health professionals of all different types, and they all have student loans, they all have business expenses, they all have debt. And, you know, on our end, what we're looking to do, and I'll just give, for those of you who aren't familiar with nutraMetrix, I want to add another layer on here for a second, because maybe you're familiar with our consumer line of health and nutrition products. And one of our most popular sellers is something we call the Isotonics Daily Essentials. And that product is basically 4 products in one. It's a multivitamin, an antioxidant, a calcium, and a B complex in one simple to use, great tasting 8-ounce drink. It's a powder that you mix with 8 ounces of water and you drink it down. So if a practitioner is going to start with something very simple, right, just that one product, we can show that practitioner through our program that let's say the practitioner sees 20 patients a day. And our goal is to get 10% of those patients to participate. There's only 2 patients a day out of the 20 that they see that they would introduce the Daily Essentials packets to. Well, if they do that, 2 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, that's 10 patients who have purchased in week 1. By the time we get through the first month, that's 40 patients that purchased. And those products are only a 30-day supply. So in month 2, everybody's going to reorder. And then a new 40 patients are going to reorder. So we could see how pretty quickly through the implementation plan that we teach in nutraMetrix, we could get a small practice like that, that's seeing 20 patients per day, to maybe the point where they have 100 people buying or 200 people buying every month within their first 6 months or so. And just to give you that type of revenue, what that would generate about 90 grand in additional revenue for the practice just from that one product with 2 patients per day buying in a 1-year ramp up period. So now let's think about this for a second, Charlie, because what would happen, and all the projections that you just gave them was on their income staying the same. But if they could generate additional, you know, an additional, let's say it's even 30 grand a year that they could apply to this, right? The compounding factor of lowering the debt while increasing the income could even accelerate the results that you were talking about.
You would normally cut that in a third or a half again.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely crazy of where it goes. You know? And to me, that's why Shop Financial should understand nutraMetrix. Because
and vice versa.
And you can take that practice and teach them the exact same thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we might have some health professionals who are watching today that have never heard of Shop Financial before. If you're one of the health professionals seeing this for the first time, what I'm going to encourage you to do is reach out to your nutraMetrix consultant and ask them for more information on Shop Financial. They may not be a Shop Financial expert themselves, which is okay, but we can find through their network, we can help to find an agent that they could work with that could help you do one of the analysis for your practice. And if you are a Shop Financial agent on the line and you want to learn more about nutraMetrix, we have in the nutraMetrix program in the GMTSS upcoming on October 24th and then another one on December 6th. We have nutraMetrix 101 and 201 sessions, which are 3 hours each. They are only $15 and you can learn enough about nutraMetrix to be able to answer questions should you as a Shop Financial agent come across a health professional that wants to learn more. At least you'd be able to answer some of their questions. But ideally, no matter which division you're in or whether you're a regular unfranchised owner that hasn't chosen your major yet, ideally what you want to try to find is someone to work in each division, in each line of your organization that you're growing. So you want to find a team of Shop Financial consultants. You want to find a team of nutraMetrix consultants. And hopefully our mission today was to help give you enough information to want to learn more, to seek out more, to learn about either nutraMetrix or Shop Financial for your business. And I hope we did that today. Charlie, thank you so much for joining us today. Any final comments before we end the session?
No, I think it's a perfect merger. So find the right people to grow your business with.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Well, thank you everyone for joining us during our Lunch and Learn session on the East Coast, our breakfast series on the West Coast. Next week, we're going to be joined by Melanie Nelson, and we're going to be talking about TLS, our weight management program, and how that incorporates with nutraMetrix. But again, thank you for your time today, Charlie, and for everybody that was watching with us. And we hope you have a great rest of your day.
All right. Have a great week, Brandi.
You too. Bye.